The stars were quiet above the green skies of Tyrell. Birds flew over the shining blue towers of the alien city. Children laughed, and their elders smiled. It was a normal day, peaceful, safe, but deep in space, something terrible had just arrived. High, above the planet in a space station, Commander Rail of the Tyrellian Defense sat at his desk. He sipped his hot drink and read the day's reports. Everything looked normal. Then his screen blinked. Red. One word appeared. Signal detected. Rail froze. He pressed a button. Show me. A map appeared. It showed the edge of their solar system. A small red light was blinking fast. No, it can't be, he whispered. He stood up, heart beating fast. Send this to the council, now! In the great council hall, 12 tall Tyrellians in long robes stood in silence. The red signal was floating in the air in front of them. Elder Mira looked pale. This is the same signal, the one that destroyed the Kalari. The one that came before the fall of Serath. It's the Devourers, another said, voice shaking. They are coming here. Nobody spoke for a long moment. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the Devourers. They were not just an enemy. They were a nightmare, a moving darkness. Planets they touched never sent signals again. Cities turned to dust. Life was erased. Elder Mira looked at the others. Our fleets are too small. We are not warriors. We are farmers, builders, teachers. Then we must say goodbye to the stars, one said quietly. Commander Rail sat alone in the dark, looking at an old picture of his daughter. She had died young, long ago. Now he knew he would follow her. But then his screen blinked again. Incoming. Transmission. Unknown origin. Rail's eyes widened. Another signal? He pressed the button. A strange voice filled the room. This is the human ship, Valkyrie. We received your distress call. We are on our way. Hold position. Rail stood, up in shock. Humans. The screen showed a face, half human, half machine. A woman with steel under her eyes and fire behind her voice. I am Commander Rena of Earth's 7th Fleet. We are coming. 3 hours later, the skies above Tyrell lit up. Not with fire, with hope. 3 giant ships came out of hyperspace. Black. Armor, glowing blue engines, and weapons bigger than anything the Tyrellians had ever seen. The largest ship looked like a flying fortress. Tyrellians gathered in the streets looking up in wonder. Some were scared, some were confused. But they all knew one thing. They were not alone anymore. In orbit, Commander Rena met with Elder Mira and Commander Rail through hologram. Rail stared at her. Why would humans help us? You owe us nothing. Rena smiled slightly. We know what the Devourers do. We lost colonies to them, families, friends. Elder Mira asked carefully, how many ships do you bring? 3, Rena said. But that's all we need. Rail looked surprised. Only 3? Against an entire Devourer swarm? She leaned closer. We're not here to run. We're here to fight. That night, all Tyrellians heard a new signal. Not the red one of death, but a human message sent to every screen. To the people of Tyrell, you are not forgotten. Your fight is now our fight. When the enemy comes, they will not find easy prey. They will find fire. And if they want the stars, they'll have to take them from us. But far away, in the cold dark, near a dead moon, a Devourer scout ship watched silently. Inside, a creature with black eyes clicked its teeth and sent a message. Resistance detected. Human warships present. Begin the swarm. The stars would soon burn. But this time, someone was ready. The Devourers were coming. Their ships were like giant insects. Black, sharp, and silent. They moved through space like shadows. No lights. No sounds, just death. The Tyrellians had seen them before, once, long ago. They hoped they would never see them again. Now they were here. But this time, the Tyrellians were not alone. In orbit above Tyrell, the 3 human warships waited. Each ship was a monster of metal and power. The lead ship, Valkyrie, was over 3 kilometers long. Its sides were covered in plasma cannons, missile bays, and railguns that could hit a target from across the system. Inside the ship, Commander Rena stood on the bridge. She stared at the tactical screen. Red dots were moving in fast. Devourer scouts. "Time to show them we're not scared," she said. Commander Rail was watching from the Tyrellian space station. He couldn't believe it. The humans didn't panic. They didn't retreat. They moved, like wolves ready for the kill. "All ships battle positions," Rena ordered. The 3 warships spread out into a triangle. "Target enemy scouts. Fire on my mark." The Devourers didn't wait. 10 of their scout ships charged in fast and deadly. The first blast came from Valkyrie. It lit up the stars like lightning. A blue beam of plasma cut through space, and one Devourer ship exploded into dust. Then the other human ships opened fire. Missiles flew, railguns roared, lasers burned through armor. One by one, the Devourer scouts fell. The Tyrellians watched in shock. In less than 3 minutes, all enemy ships were gone. Down on the planet, Tyrellian children looked up and saw the battle in the sky. They saw fire, explosions, and then they saw the stars again. Commander Rail whispered, "They did it. They really did it." Elder Mira said, "Maybe, just maybe, there is hope." But inside Valkyrie, the mood was still serious. "That was just the scouts," Rena said. "The swarm will be 10 times bigger, maybe more." Her second officer, Lieutenant Kieran, nodded. The stars were quiet again, for now. After the first battle, the Tyrellians began to trust the humans. They had seen the firepower. They had seen the speed, the bravery, but not everything was clear. The humans had power, but also secrets. Loriak, a young Tyrellian scientist, couldn't sleep. He had been watching the human ships from the station. He had questions, too many. Why were humans really here? Why did they risk so much for a species they barely knew? Something didn't make sense, so he made a decision. He would find the truth. Late at night, Loriak slipped into a shuttle and flew quietly toward the human ship Valkyrie. He had studied their patterns, their codes, their guards. He found a weak point in their scanning net. When his shuttle touched the side of the warship, he used a magnetic clamp to stick to the hull. He climbed through a maintenance tunnel, dark, cold, and narrow. After 20 minutes, he reached the inside. The ship was alive with lights and sounds, machines humming, weapons charging, voices over the radio. Loriak hid in the shadows, moving silently. He passed large rooms with giant weapons. He passed soldiers training in zero gravity. Finally, he reached a door marked, "Restricted, crew only." He opened it, and what he saw stopped him cold. It was a memorial room. Dozens of photos covered the walls, humans of all ages. Smiling faces, children, families, all gone. In the center of the room was a glowing map. It showed lost colonies destroyed by the Devourers, each one marked in red. There were many. Too many. Loriak stepped closer. On one photo, a note was written. "This was my brother. He died with his son on Titan IV. We will never forget." Loriak felt something in his chest. Pain, sadness, guilt. Now he understood. Humans were not just helping. They were fighting a war they had already lost, again and again. Suddenly a voice came from behind him. "You shouldn't be here." Loriak turned fast. A tall human stood there. He wore black armor. One of his eyes was metal, glowing red. His face was full of scars. He didn't look angry. He looked tired. Who are you?" Loriak asked. "I'm Sergeant Hale. Security." Loriak lowered his head. I was curious. I'm sorry." Hale looked at the pictures. "These people died screaming. Whole colonies gone in minutes, no chance to run. The Devourers didn't just kill them. They erased them." Loriak swallowed hard. "Why help us?" Hale looked at him. "Because You still have a chance, because we remember what it was like when no one came. He stepped forward. But if you ever sneak in again, I won't be this kind. Loriak nodded. I understand. Hale pointed to the door. Come, I'll take you to the commander. She'll want to speak with you. On the bridge, Commander Rena was waiting. She didn't shout. She didn't punish, she simply asked, What did you see? Loriak told her everything. She listened in silence. Then she said, We don't fight for medals. We fight so others won't have to feel what we felt. Loriak asked, Do you think we'll win this time? She paused, then said, If we stand together, maybe. Later, back on the Tyrellian station, Loriak stood before Elder Mira and Commander Rael. He told them the truth about what he had seen, about the human loss, about their pain, about their reason for fighting. Rael said, They hide their sadness well. Mira said, But they do not hide their courage. Loriak added softly, They are not just warriors. They are survivors. Far away in the dark of space, the Devourer swarm began to move. Thousands of ships, millions of creatures, all heading for one star system, one planet, one last hope. Tyrell. But this time, fire was waiting. Commander Rena stood in the war room of Valkyrie. Around her, holograms of stars and planets floated. The Devourer swarm was still coming, but it had slowed down. That was strange. They're hiding something, Rena said. They never stop, unless they're setting a trap. Her second officer, Lieutenant Kieran, looked at the new transmission. We just received a call from the Valari system. They're under attack. They're asking for help. The Valari were another peaceful alien race. Artists, scientists, no armies. Commander Rael of Tyrell joined the call. We must help them. They're our friends. Rena nodded. We'll go, but we go carefully. 3 ships left the Tyrell system: Valkyrie, Orion, and Bladewind. 1 Tyrellian escort ship joined them. Inside Orion, young Tyrellian pilot Necra looked out at the stars. She had never left her home system before. She wore a human pilot suit, modified for her body. She had trained with humans. She wanted to fight like them. But something didn't feel right. As the ships entered the Valari system, everything looked too quiet. There was no smoke, no explosions, no cries for help. Something's wrong, Rena said on the fleet channel. This place should be burning. Then the sensors screamed. Dozens of Devourer ships uncloaked, from behind moons, from asteroid fields, from empty space. It's a trap, Lieutenant Kieran shouted. The Devourers fired first. Red energy blasts hit Bladewind, damaging its shields. The Tyrellian escort ship tried to turn but was hit and exploded in flames. Evasive maneuvers, Rena yelled. The human ships turned fast, weapons firing in all directions. Orion was hit twice. Smoke filled the bridge. Power systems dropped to 50%. Shields are failing, someone shouted. Inside Orion, Necra's cockpit was shaking. Alarms rang around her. She saw a Devourer ship heading straight for Valkyrie. Its weapons charged. She didn't think. She acted. Necra pushed her fighter forward, full speed. She fired all her weapons, lasers, missiles, everything. Her ship hit the enemy just before it reached Valkyrie. The explosion threw her sideways, but the Devourer ship was gone. Inside Valkyrie, Rena saw it on the screen. Who was that pilot? She asked. Rael answered over comms. That was Necra, Tyrellian. Rena smiled. She's got fire in her veins. The battle raged for 30 more minutes. Human warships fired railguns that tore Devourer armor apart, but the enemy kept coming. Then Lieutenant Kieran shouted, New ships entering the system. Tyrellian reinforcements. 10 Tyrellian fighters jumped in. They weren't strong, but they came fast and fearless. Together, the humans and Tyrellians pushed back. One by one, the Devourer ships exploded. Finally, the last enemy ship tried to flee. Rena gave the order. No survivors. A final railgun shot hit the target. It was over. On the battlefield, wreckage floated everywhere. Broken ships, burned metal. Silence again. In the medical bay of Orion, Necra opened her eyes. She was alive. A human nurse smiled at her. "You saved us all. You're a hero now," Necra whispered. "I just didn't want to lose anyone else." Later, the fleet returned to Terrell. Crowds waited in the streets. When Necra stepped out of her ship, Tyrellians cheered. Even some humans clapped. But back in the Tyrellian Council, something darker was happening. High Counselor Varn, an old leader, was angry. "These humans bring war to our skies," he said. "Now we lose more ships, more lives." Elder Mira replied, "Without them we would all be dead." But Varn had doubts, and doubts can be dangerous. Far away, deep in the cold void, the Devourer Queen watched a screen. She had seen the battle. She had lost ships. She smiled anyway. "They resist well," she hissed. "Good. The hunt will be sweeter." Behind her, thousands of Devourer ships powered up. The real swarm was coming. Darkness floated beyond the stars. The Devourer Queen stared at her maps. She knew the humans and Tyrellians were fighting harder than expected. She didn't care. She had something more powerful than ships. Time. The longer she waited, the more afraid her enemies would become. She opened her jaws and whispered, "Let them burn their strength. The real storm has not begun." On the Valkyrie, Commander Rena sat alone in her ready room. She was tired. Her face showed the weight of every battle. But Kieran entered with a report. Still no movement from the swarm. Rena looked up. "They're waiting, planning, but so are we." Then a new alert flashed on the screen. Distress signal detected, human code. Origin unknown. Kieran raised an eyebrow. "From where?" "Sector 92G, the computer answered. "Uncharted." Rena's face changed. "No, that can't..." Kieran asked. "What is it?" She stood slowly. "That's where the Ghost Fleet disappeared. 20 years ago, during the early days of the Devourer War, Earth had sent a massive fleet into deep space. It never returned. No wreckage. No signals, no clues. Everyone thought it was destroyed. They called it the Ghost Fleet. Now, something had awakened." Rena gathered her senior crew and invited Commander Rail to join. "We need to check that signal," she said. "If the Ghost Fleet is still out there, we need them." Rail looked unsure. "What if it's a trap?" "It might be," she replied. "But if it's real, it could change everything." 3 ships left Tyrell once again: Valkyrie, Orion, and one smaller stealth frigate named Nightstar. As they reached Sector 92G, the stars seemed colder, older, wrong. There were no planets here, just dust, frozen rocks, and silence. Then they saw it. Out of the shadows, hundreds of ships floated in a slow circle, dead and dark. It was them. The Ghost Fleet. Most of the ships were still, silent, lifeless. But one was sending a signal. Valkyrie moved closer. On the EO screen appeared an old man in a black uniform. His hair was white. His voice cracked. "This is Admiral Trask, commander of Earth's 3rd Expeditionary Fleet. We are still alive." Rena stood in shock. "That's impossible." Admiral Trask continued. "We fought them. We won one battle, then lost the rest. We came here to hide. We thought Earth was gone. We stayed in cryo-sleep until your signal woke us. If Earth still stands, if the war continues, then we are ready to return." The news hit like thunder. Back on Tyrell, people gathered, around screens. Rail watched the transmission with wide eyes. "A whole fleet, lost and now found," Elder Mira whispered. Just in time. But in the council hall, High Counselor Varn was not smiling. He stood before the Tyrellian leaders and spoke with cold calm. "These humans hide many things from us. Secret fleets, hidden weapons." "What else?" Mira answered. They did not. No, even they were surprised. Varn shook his head. Or that's what they want us to believe. He walked away, deep in thought. Something dark was growing in his heart. Back in deep space, Admiral Trask and his fleet began powering up. Their ships were old, but strong. They were built in the early war, when Earth used heavier armor and massive cannons. Now they joined the human-Tyrellian alliance. The stars were no longer silent. They were filling with ships, with fire, with hope. But far away, in her throne of bone and shadow, the Devourer Queen smiled. She too had secrets, and one of them was hidden inside the Ghost Fleet, a seed, a sleeper, a trap planted long ago, waiting. The Ghost Fleet had returned. Old warships, dark and scarred, floated beside the newer human and Tyrellian ships. Together, they formed the largest armada Tyrell had ever seen. People cheered. Hope returned, but deep in space. Something dark was waking. Commander Rena stood on the bridge of Valkyrie, watching the fleet on her screen. Admiral Trask's voice came over the comm. Fleet is fully powered, ready for new battle orders. Rena nodded. We're stronger now. But her second officer, Lieutenant Kieran, looked uneasy. Something feels wrong, he whispered. Those ships, they've been out here too long. Rena glanced at him. You think they're hiding something? I think, Kieran said, we should check. In the lower levels of Orion, Necra walked through the hangar. She was training with other young pilots, both human and Tyrellian. Suddenly, her comlink beeped. A message, come to Engineering Bay 4 alone, it's important. She frowned. Who sent this? But she went. Inside the dark bay, Necra found a young engineer, Davis, a human technician. His face was pale. He looked scared. They don't know I called. You, he said quickly. But I found something bad. He held up a chip. This came from one of the Ghost Fleet ships. I was running a systems check. It's not human. Necra's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? Davis whispered. It's Devourer tech hidden inside their systems. Necra took the chip and ran to Commander Rena. They played the data on the screen. It showed strange black code buried deep in the ship's control system, alien programming that matched known Devourer signals. Rena's face turned hard. They've been infected, Lieutenant Kieran added. The fleet may be under Devourer control and not even know it. Rena called a private meeting with Admiral Trask. He didn't deny it. He looked tired, angry. We didn't know at first, he said. One ship acted strange, then another. We lost good men. We shut them down, thought it was over. It's not over, Rena said. It's spreading. Trask's voice dropped. You think I brought this on purpose? No, Rena said. But the Queen planned this long ago. She planted the infection before your fleet even disappeared. Trask stood slowly. If my fleet is a danger, say it. Rena looked at him, heart heavy. You have loyal men, good ships, but we need to scan every system. If even one ship turns during battle, thousands will die. Trask nodded. Then do it. I give you full access. We must stop this now. But someone was already working to stop them. High Counselor Varn. He had watched quietly. He had listened to fear. Now he acted. He sent a secret message to a hidden group within the Tyrellian military. The humans hide infections. They bring danger to our skies. Prepare strike plans. We may have to destroy their fleet before it turns on us. On Nightstar, a small stealth ship, the Devourer code spread quietly. It reached the navigation system, then life support, then weapons. No one knew. That night, Necra stood on the viewing deck of Orion, looking at the stars. Kieran joined her. You did good finding that chip, he said. She smiled. I was just curious. You saved lives. Necra nodded. I just hope we're not too late. Then alarms rang. Red alert. Security breach. Ship sabotage detected. The infection had begun. One of the Ghost Fleet ships, Liberty Hammer, suddenly powered up its weapons and turned toward Valkyrie. It fired once before human engineers shut it down. The shot missed, but the message was clear. The infection had reached the heart of the fleet. In the Tyrellian Council, High Counselor Varn stood up and shouted, "They attack now! We must strike first! Burn their ships before they burn!"
Us!
Elder Mira tried to calm him. It was one ship, shut down already. Humans are handling it. But Varn's eyes burned. "No, we take no chances." He sent the order. Tyrellian weapons charged. Human sensors picked it up. Suddenly, the Allies turned their guns on each other. Commander Rena's voice echoed over open comms. "Stand down. We are not enemies." But fear had already taken hold. A single mistake now, and everything would fall apart. Above the world of Tyrell, war was about to break out, not against the Devourers, but between friends. And the Queen watched from the shadows, smiling. Tension hung in space like a blade ready to fall. Above Tyrell, two fleets faced each other, human and Tyrellian, their weapons charged, engines hot, captains silent, waiting, only. Hours ago, they were allies. Now a single wrong move would start a war. Commander Reyna stood on the bridge of Valkyrie, eyes locked on the screen. She saw the Tyrellian ships aiming at them. Her own crew waited for orders. "Do not fire unless fired upon," she said calmly. "Hold position," Lieutenant Kieran whispered. "They're scared. But if Varn gives the order," Rena nodded. "Then we'll have to make a hard choice." On the ground inside the Tyrellian Council chamber, High Counselor Varn stood tall. His voice was loud, angry. "The Ghost Fleet is poisoned. One ship already attacked. We cannot wait for another." Elder Mira stepped forward. "Commander Rena, shut down the infected ship, she warned us. They're scanning every system to stop this." Varn's hands shook. "And what if she fails? What if we all burn?" Another counselor asked. "So what do you want, Varn? War with the humans?" Varn's voice dropped. "If war is what saves our world, then yes." In space, Admiral Trask received the same warning. He stood aboard the battleship Iron Fist, staring at the incoming threat. "They don't trust us," he said. "Maybe they're right." A young officer spoke. "Sir, we followed orders. We didn't know about the infection." Trask looked away. "War makes monsters, even in good men." He opened a channel. "This is Admiral Trask to Tyrellian Command. If you believe we're your enemies, say it now. But if we are still allies, stand down, let us fix what was broken." Silence followed. Then, Tyrellian weapons began to power down. Not all, but some. Elder Mira had taken control of one ship, the Zephyr Wing, and ordered her captain to stand down. Others followed, but not all. A young Tyrellian captain named Kale, loyal to Varn, shouted on fleet comms, "The humans carry darkness in their ships. We should destroy them now." Commander Rail answered, "If we fire on them, we become what the Devourers want. Fearful, divided." Inside Orion, Necra listened. Her heart raced. She opened a channel to all ships, human and Tyrellian. "This is Necra, pilot of Orion. I am Tyrellian. I trained with humans. I fought beside them. I saw their kindness, their courage. Yes, there's a danger, but they're trying to fix it. If we fight each other now, we lose everything. Please, trust each other. Just a little longer." Her voice echoed through every deck, every ship. One by one, Tyrellian captains paused. Then, power levels dropped. Weapons were turned off. Engines cooled. A war was avoided. For now, Commander Rena sent a private message to Necra. "You saved more than ships today. You saved hope." Necra smiled, tears in her eyes. "I just didn't want to lose anyone else." Later that night, on the bridge of Valkyrie, Rena stood with Commander Rail and Admiral Trask. All three leaders stared at the screen, showing the path of the incoming Devourer swarm, thousands of enemy ships, all heading for Tyrell. They had days, maybe less. Rail broke the silence. "Now we stand together. No more doubt, Trask added. If we fall as one. Rena said, no, we fight, and we win. But deep in the void, the Devourer Queen opened her mouth in a scream of rage. Her plan had failed. The Allies were still united. But she had one final weapon. A massive biological warship, the size of a moon, was growing inside a dead star system. It would lead the final attack. And this time, there would be no survivors. The stars were no longer silent. They burned with fire. Across the black sky, the greatest armada ever formed waited. Human ships, Tyrellian cruisers, the Ghost Fleet, all stood side by side, engines hot, weapons ready. They faced one direction, toward the deep void where the Devourer swarm was coming. On the bridge of Valkyrie, Commander Rena gave her final speech. All ships, today we make our stand. Not just for Earth, not just for Tyrell, but for every world the Devourers have eaten. She looked at her crew, tired, scared, but brave. We are light in the darkness. Let's show them what that means. In the enemy's center, the Devourer Queen rose inside her living warship. It was the size of a moon, covered in teeth, eyes and bone. Behind her were thousands of ships screaming through space. This galaxy belongs to us. Break their bodies, shatter their minds. Leave nothing. The swarm rushed forward like a black ocean. The final battle began. Explosions flashed across the stars. Orion and Nightstar dodged enemy fire, weaving between blasts. Tyrellian ships formed tight shields, protecting human cruisers. The Ghost Fleet opened fire with heavy cannons, old tech but still deadly. Necra flew fast and low, taking down smaller Devourer ships with perfect aim. Cling! Kieran shouted from the Valkyrie. They just keep coming, Commander Rena said. Then we keep fighting, but... Then, the Queen's warship moved forward. It opened a huge mouth made of plasma and bone. It fired a beam of death toward the center of the fleet. Zephyr Wing, the Tyrellian ship commanded by Elder Mira, flew directly into the path. For peace, she whispered. Her ship was destroyed, but the beam was blocked. The others had a chance to live. Admiral Trask growled on the comm. That monster dies. Now. He ordered a full strike on the Queen's ship, but its skin healed. Its weapons grew back. Then Necra had an idea. The infection, she said to Rena. The Queen uses Devourer code. What if we send it back? Lunetted Kieran's eyes lit up. A virus, a reverse signal, shut her down from inside. Admiral Trask responded. It's a long shot, Rena said. It's the only shot. Inside Valkyrie, engineers worked fast. Necra and Davis carried the infected chip from earlier. They rewired it, flipped the code. It became a weapon. Kieran uploaded it into a drone and launched it toward the Queen's ship. As it flew, ships from all sides defended it, dying to keep it safe. One by one, human and Tyrellian ships were destroyed. But the drone made it through. It slammed into the Queen's warship. For a second. Nothing happened. Then, the Queen screamed. Her ship shook. The swarm froze. Her mind was breaking. Commander Rena gave the final order. All ships, fire everything. Lasers, missiles, plasma cannons, Tyrellian beams. Everything hit the Queen's ship at once. It broke apart in a storm of light and sound. She screamed one last time. Then silence. The swarm stopped. Without her, they had no mind, no purpose. One by one, they powered down and drifted into space. The war was over. Later, in orbit over Tyrell, the survivors gathered. Ships floated with lights on, like stars reborn. Rena, Rael, Trask, and Necra stood together on a viewing deck. Rael spoke first. We lost many. Trask nodded. But we saved more. Rena looked at Necra. You gave us the key. Necra smiled. We all did it. Together. In the skies above them, the Alliance fleet remained. Human, Tyrellian, stronger than ever, ready for any future, and somewhere, far beyond the stars. The last devourers ran afraid, because they had seen what humans could do, not alone, but united.